All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of Trading Bitcoin with your host, Tom Vays. Coming to you live this Saturday as the markets are in a bit of trouble, coming off the crazy day on Friday where the inflation CPI numbers came in significantly higher than expected. All right, let me look at the charts. I want to try to get back to, doing like 10-minute market summaries and then, getting to your questions. So let me go ahead and do that. We're going to jump right into the markets, and then I'll see if I can take a look at your live chat. If you guys, sucker me into political discussions, may or may not do it. We will see. All right. Monthly chart looks like a disaster. On pace to get to the long-term moving average at $21,000. Short and simple. Weekly chart, the oscillators look like a disaster. The MACD has never been worse in Bitcoin's history, so that's bad. The CMF is headed once again for one of its worst levels in history. It was trending nicely for a minute, but now it's back to looking like an outright disaster. The RSI is in the area of a reversal, but it is about to make new lows. So for the RSI, right, the RSI does not activate a counter trade to the upside unless it actually gets above your oversold line. Now, my oversold line is at 35. It's not at 30 like it traditionally is. So I have to wait for the RSI to get back above 35 before it can indicate that the bottom is actually in. Now, let's talk about price action. We have our moving averages. For those that are wondering what these moving averages are, they are right here. It's the 9, the 200, and the 50. I'm not sure why I'm using a 9. It should probably be the 20. That would actually make a lot more sense. I think I'm not sure why I switched to the 9. I don't remember. But Bitcoin, based on moving averages, is incredibly weak. And the consensio on a weekly scale is also telling us that we are on pace to get down to the long-term weekly moving average, which Bitcoin has also historically done in every single bear market. Multiple times even, in some cases. That's where it begins. So let's get back to today. All right, so what else does the weekly chart tell us? I'm going to put on the Lucid SARS. I'm trying to remember what momentum is. It's got my copyright on it, so it's my indicator. God, it's been a while. I might have turned this on by accident. It is part of my trading education class. Clearly, I don't use it all that often. We're going to leave it there for now. Lucid SARs are a disaster. There's a lot of disasters here. The only positive sign we had on our weekly scale was the MRI buy. And we were looking like we were ready to capitalize on the weekly MRI buy. And now as the week is coming to an end, we have to abandon hope that this MRI is ready to reverse the market. So what happens now? What happens in a situation where the MRI indicator does not reverse the market? Well, in that case, it activates. Well, it activates it in either case, but we've activated the extensions. These are your extensions A, B, and C. Now, how do I trade a failed MRI reversal? Well, I wait for another low. So I never trade the following candle. What that means is I would never trade next week's candle. I would never trade that. But the week after, if the week after is lower than current week and what's going to happen next week, that's a potential short trade. However, if we crash like a lot right now, then that short trade would be kind of silly because you would be chasing a market that has already lost the majority of the value it's going to lose. So we patiently wait and see what develops. But right now, if I was entering any bullish trades off of this weekly MRI, I would be cutting those trades and reevaluating the situation. You know what? Before I go to the allocation consensio chart, I have to promote the Financial Summit, which is a gathering for traders, investors, money managers in the Dominican Republic, taking place August 1st to 6th. All right, you can follow us. Please follow us on Twitter. You can follow us on Instagram. We'd love to get to 1,000 followers. You can follow us on YouTube. Again, we'd love to get to 1,000 followers. And let's go now to the allocation chart. This is the Consensio allocation chart. The Consensio allocation chart went short right here for a very small piece. And unfortunately, this short trade got deactivated when the market started to rally significantly over the following several weeks. But that amounted to absolutely nothing. It caused the position to go back into a fully cash position. And as I said yesterday, the break of this line could potentially activate a short trade one more time. We literally just broke this line earlier this morning on today's candle. It was actually right here at 29. It did happen earlier today. So what do we do with this chart? There's two ways to do this. You could just patiently wait and try to buy the dip. Eventually, Bitcoin price will bottom. I'm trying to join spaces a little bit more now that I have my little check mark. You know, people can probably in traditional finance groups might take me more seriously. And a lot of the traditional people really hate Bitcoin. They really, really hate Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is going to bottom. I have no doubt in my mind that Bitcoin is going to bottom and start going up because Bitcoin is a brand new asset class. Those of you that have followed me long enough know my views as to why I'm a believer in Bitcoin. There's really no reason to explain any of those reasons further. So it will eventually find a bottom. That bottom could be as low as $20,000. We have absolutely no idea. But it will absolutely find the bottom because it could be the only savior to the current clown world of the laughing stock of a financial system run by the United States. So eventually we are going to hit a low and we're going to start going up. Now, I also said in yesterday's video that the break of this support would potentially activate a short trade. Right there. And if you are to activate a short trade, it would have to be greater than 10% in order to make up for the losing trade that took place here now that you're back to the same level. So I don't know how to explain this. Let's say 25, for example. Right? So a lot of trolls in the live chat right now will say that, well, Tone, you're cheating. You're putting it here at 29,000, but the current price is 28.5. Well, there's a couple of things I can say. I can say tough cookies because yesterday I said this is exactly what should happen the moment we start breaking 25,000. I could also not put this position on at all as long as you understand why. If you were to short Bitcoin here, statistically, it should be a bigger allocation than the failed trade you did earlier. Okay, and of course, I'm getting a call now that I'm live streaming. I'll deal with it later. So we can leave this, we can delete this, doesn't really matter because again, all of this is my opinion and how I would be trading the market. I would never ever show my trades for starters. Like there would be no benefit and only detriment because I don't charge anything for this. This is a completely free stream of my opinions. Though I am strongly considering going back to trading, especially if I cut back on my travel significantly. So what do we do? Do we leave this at a bearish 25%, or do I just remove it and say wait to buy the dip? In a way, I want to keep these streams interesting. At the same time, I also want to be right. So let me think about this right now. It is the weekend. As you guys know, I trade GBTC for tax reasons because it's one of the few assets I can trade free for tax reasons. And I'm still waiting to take full advantage of the GBTC premium that once the bull market comes, it will evaporate very, very quickly. Like, I don't know how many of you guys have seen the show Chernobyl, but if you, it was an incredible miniseries on HBO. And in the very last, I don't know, 20 minutes of the show, at the last 20 minutes of the last episode of Chernobyl, he talked about what happened inside a nuclear reactor. And then once the temperature started to significantly increase, the radioactive material started to significantly increase inside the reactor, the gas that was keeping the temperature down. I forgot the name of the gas. I think it was radon gas. I forgot what the gas name was. It just burned off because of the heat. So that's how I imagine this GBTC premium is gonna evaporate. Kind of like that ending to the show Chernobyl, when, you know, once they lost control of the nuclear reactor, the heat started to increase so much, it instantly evaporated all the gas that had built up over the prior 24-hour period for reasons I'm not going to get into, but watch the show. And because of that concentration of gas that they didn't realize how much there was, it was telling them that the temperature in the reactor was low, but it was just because of the gas. The moment the heat turned up, the gas evaporated, and like the whole thing just exploded. Were you in Ukraine in 1986? I wasn't in Ukraine. I was in Russia in 1986. Not that far from Ukraine, though. I was north of the Chernobyl reactor. I was south of Moscow. So Moscow is almost like not straight north. I mean, Moscow is like 80% north and 20% east of Kiev. And I was kind of like in between the two, but closer to Moscow than to Kiev. So in 1986. So had the wind turned the wrong way, it could have had the weather pattern was been moving in the opposite direction, that radiation totally would have went in my direction. That radiation was blowing more towards Europe, I believe. I could be wrong, though. I really should know better considering my geology degree, and I have taken like climate science as well. So I should be aware of like the global patterns a little bit better. But yeah. So anyway, so that's how I imagine the GBTC premium evaporating. All right, anyway, let's get back to the charts. So should I leave it? Should I drop it? Maybe I can do a poll. Create poll. I know it sounds silly. I'm just curious. Leave short 25%. stay in cash. I'm making a poll. Let's see what you guys think. Wait. Oh, ask a question. That's going to be, oh, but I added one more. Okay, here we go. Let's see what you guys think. There's a poll at the top of the chat. I've never done these before. Curious how it works. All right, so while you guys play around with that, let's go to daily chart. The daily chart is breaking a very critical support. As you guys know, we need a close below this in order to actually activate. So let's wait and see what happens there. Okay, I said I would keep this short and then check out your live chat. So the 4-hour chart is also very bearish. Nothing more to say. Well, let's take a look at funding rate, actually. The funding rate's once again approaching some critical levels. You can see the MACD about to cross over in a very nasty territory. The CMF is already going to bearish territory. The RSI is headed for bearish territory. It has broken its trend line rise. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I have no good news for you whatsoever. Like none. You can get cheaper Bitcoin. That's about it. You can dollar cost average cheaper into Bitcoin. And Ethereum and shitcoins are dying. That's good news, right? I don't really have much good news. I wish I can give you good news, but I can't. Oil, still bullish. I think it's going way higher. Gold, I think, is bullish, but probably not worth a position. S&P is right at this support. S&P now looks very weak. I've been telling you guys for a while. I don't know what's going to reverse the market, but I believe something will. I have no idea what the catalyst could be. I was joking around yesterday that Biden could step down, and that could create significant I gotta talk geopolitics here. Historically speaking, a presidential uncertainty is a disaster for the stock market, an absolute disaster. A presidential uncertainty is as bearish outlook for the stock market as it gets. Like if a president, gets shot, if a president has health issues, because it shows that the country doesn't know where to go. And whenever speculators and traders and investors are uncertain about the future, they hodl into cash. They get out of speculative investments. This is different. This is different. In this case scenario, in this specific case, because it's Biden, and because everyone knows that Biden should not be president, because he's mentally not there. For the first time, probably in American history, that if there is presidential uncertainty in this particular point in time, it would be a bullish catalyst for the stock market because it can't possibly be worse. Though then again, we see who the vice president is, and we see who the second in line is, being Nancy Pelosi. And you can certainly argue with me that if Biden is to step down or suddenly, I don't know, trip and fall over some stairs, people are going to panic completely because they see who is next to take over. Like in the case of Donald Trump, Mike Pence, who I'm not a fan of, was at least borderline competent. Well, the Democrats blame Trump, and then they skip over Biden completely, and they blame Putin. So it's Trump and Putin. I mean, they are the cause of every single issue in America. Or, Putin's puppet, Donald Trump, so they can combine the two as well. Okay, so like you can't even look at this chart properly, right? That's an all-time low. Guys, I tweeted out this morning. Eventually, when the price of your token goes low enough, your mining fails. This may not apply to Bitcoin. It may not apply to Bitcoin. But it applies to everything else. We can debate whether the price of Bitcoin, let's say the price of Bitcoin goes to below $5,000. Let's say the price of Bitcoin actually goes below the cost of production by miners. What happens? We can debate that. We know what happens in a shitcoin. The shitcoin dies and it has to merge mine. We've already seen examples of this. But we don't know what would happen to Bitcoin if the price of mining falls significantly below the cost of production for an extended period of time. We don't know what would happen. I can make the argument that Bitcoin will still survive, but it's certainly debatable. Litecoin has hit an all-time low. Do you know how difficult it is to hit an all-time low, especially in crypto? It's absolutely incredible. We can look at Ethereum. Everyone's talking about Ethereum today. So Ethereum is not in any kind of serious trouble. I know everyone is like happy that Ethereum is down, but it's really not down all that much. It really isn't. And Ethereum they have a way of, the Ethereum Foundation is like the Federal Reserve. They have a way of altering the amount of Ethereum in circulation. So they can just burn a shit ton of Ethereum in order to make Ethereum more scarce, thus artificially raising the price. No, all-time lows against Bitcoin for shitcoins is actually pretty rare because a lot of them start at zero and none of them actually go back to zero. So going to an all-time low is actually rare. I mean, even if we take a look at something like the Chainlink scam, I mean, they're not even close to the all-time low, but they are newer, right? They are a 2017 Ponzi. If we take a look at something older, they eventually do. Like if you look at Tron, even Tron, has not yet fallen to its all-time low. And remember, these things are proof of stake, right? So they're constantly emitting more. So their market cap is still somewhat rising because they're creating more tokens. So what else can we pick on? I don't have them all here. There's just too many shit coins. Like Neo's been around for a while, right? Or is this a wrong Neo? I thought it's been around for a while. IOTA scam's been around for a while. Why do I have two of them? What the hell's the difference? IOTA BTC. IOTA BTC. What's the difference? Oh, one's on. What the hell's the difference? This is on Binance, and this is on HitBTC. I think HitBTC is older. I mean, see, IOTA hit an all-time low, right? But again, it's how many more tokens there are in circulation now than before. So you kind of have to take that into account. That's why it's like a lot of these things start at 0 and then they pump. Like look at Monero, right? Like it'll be like Monero started at pretty much 0 and pumped. You know, it'll be challenging for Monero to go to an all-time low, but eventually it will. Monero will go to a new all-time low against Bitcoin. And this is a good example because Monero doesn't inflate as much as the proof of stake Ponzi's. But eventually Monero will go to an all-time low against Bitcoin. It's actually inevitable. It's inevitable, just like Litecoin, because Monero's utility versus Bitcoin is as useless as Litecoin's utility against Bitcoin. Like the claim of what Litecoin does better than Bitcoin is just nonsense. And eventually people realize it and the price goes to a new all-time low. And the supply of Litecoin stays constant versus Bitcoin, like in proportional, relatively constant. It's not like Tezos, for example. Like Tezos creates new Tezos all the time. So do I even have Tezos? What's the ticker? There it is. Tezos versus Bitcoin. Like Binance is not a. Okay, so it's what's the ticker? TXTZ. XTZ. BTC. I think Kraken is old enough. Bittrex, Poloniex. I just want the one with the longest history. Hobie, maybe? Hobie's been around longer than Tezos, right? Has Binance? I just want max history. Poloniex, probably. They've been around the longest. Whoa, is Tezos that new? It has to be older than 2020, right? I mean, I remember the scam being way older. It can't have started that early. Binance? Yeah, there it is. Okay. 2017. Is that my oldest data point? Kraken? They've been around longer, right? 2018. Where's the data? Why is there no freaking consistency? Where is the data on this garbage? See, this goes back to 2017. Obi? Nope, 2018. All right, so who's got the longest history? Binance, right? Oh, Coinbase loves scams. They put them up super early. Nope. 2019. Binance. I guess we're going with Binance, right? So it has the oldest history from that list. So no, well, clearly Tezos started in 2017, not 2018, right? I mean, again, this is why you want to try to find a shit casino that has the oldest history, right? So Tezos is at a new all-time low against Bitcoin, but Tezos is like the US dollar, or more like the Venezuelan bolivar, where they infinitely print more and more Tezos because it's a proof of stake Ponzi scheme. So when Tezos hits a new all-time low against Bitcoin, it's not really that impressive, because right here, there's probably like, I don't know, 1,000 times more Tezos in circulation than there were here. So if you actually held Tezos from this point and you watch them go down in price to here, if you had a big enough proof of stake, shitbag, you could actually have made money. So while each individual Tezos that you held lost 70% versus Bitcoin, you could have, through proof of stake, to basically through nothing, through the Ponzi scheme of Tezos, you could have actually made money because, I mean, a 70% drop is like if the amount of your Tezos bag increased 3 times with the amount of Tezos from proof of stake Ponzi, you could have actually made money. So that's why it's hard to compare the proof of stake Ponzi's hitting all-time lows because you could have still made money on it because they're just printing them out of nowhere at infinite inflation rate. I consider gaps irrelevant in general. The only gaps I don't consider irrelevant are day gaps. I don't consider long-term gaps relevant at all. Because if we go to the CME, enough shitcoin talk. If we go to the CME, is it XBT? What's the, yeah, CME mini. If we go to the CME on a daily scale or weekly scale, because it doesn't trade on. What the hell is this? No, I need a different asset. Hold on. No, that's the right asset. What was that? Is that when they started? Like, I don't know what this is. It's probably bad data. Okay, let's go to the GBTC then. Let's use GBTC as an example of what I'm talking about. Here's GBTC. Here's a gap. That's a giant gap. Okay. Is this gap going to close? It did. That's great. That one did. Let's go to January 2020, right? Like here's the March 2020 crash. Right here, here's a gap. The CME would have the same thing. March 18th to March 19th, this gap here. Okay. Is this gap going to close? I don't think so. Right? In order for this gap to close, Bitcoin has to go back down to $6,000. Do you think that's going to happen? No. So I just don't really care for the gaps. I don't care for the gaps. All right, I'm looking at your live chat, guys. Hey, Mechanic, how are you, brother? I'm curious what the bond yields did. Let's look at the 10-year. 10-year yield. Look at that, 10-year yield. So the weekly, on a weekly scale, the 10-year hits a high. I hope I mentioned this in real time. A textbook 1 to 4 candle correction, and now the yield's about to go higher on a 10-year. So is the Fed going to raise rates? Yeah, they probably will, but I don't think they're going to raise rates 75 basis points. I think I'm going to take the under. I'll take the under on that. Do I see 27K next week? Yeah, I mean, probably. I'm pretty bearish right now. See 27K like tonight. We're almost at 27K. Like we could be at 27K by the time I stream it. We're about to break 28.2. Treasuries are going to blow up. Yeah, they will. And when treasuries blow up, it'll send the stock market through the roof. Imagine the mass exodus out of the government bond market. Where are you going to put the money? Where are you going to put the money? You have gold, you have Bitcoin, and you have the stock market. That's it. Oh, I like this 1 hour chart, guys. Look, we topped with the MRI and we're bottoming with the MRI right now. We bounced right off 28,000, 28,090 on the index, on the average price. 1 to 4 candle correction to the upside, but after that, I think we're going down. This has been the most frustrating bear market to my memory. It's hard to explain. It's really hard to explain. I mean, I have streams in the first bear market of 2014. That's when I started. Maybe not streams, but I have articles written back then. I have. Oh, that's what I should have done. I should have tried to get my check mark for Instagram as an author, because I did used to write for Cointelegraph, which is now considered a legit publication. I'm really trying to get my personal, if you go to my Instagram, I'm really trying to get my Instagram check mark. I applied for it again. Follow me on Instagram, guys. It'll help, because there's just so many scammers. Every day, if you follow me on Instagram, some fake tone Vays is going to message you trying to steal money from you. So be careful if you follow me. And I am trying to get my check mark. And the only reason I care about that check mark is to just save people from getting scammed. But Instagram is very, very like tricky to get that check mark. I broke 10,000 followers. That's great on Instagram. I only post personal stuff. I don't really post trading stuff. I got to post more of my travel pictures. I have really good travel pictures. This is back when I had muscle, which I lost during the pandemic. I only post personal pictures on Instagram. I don't only post Bitcoin or trading stuff. I do a lot of stories. Okay, where were we? Bonds. I think interest rates are going to go up, which hurts pretty much everything. Low interest rates are great. The only thing high interest rate helps is the retired grandma and her CDs. Other than that, it hurts. Harder to buy a house, harder to do a lot of stuff. All right, I'll take another question or two, and then we're going to call it a day. Can politicians kill Bitcoin? No. Do I need to read the rest of this? By knocking transactions to websites that we're using to buy, no. I'm not even going to finish reading that. The answer is no. Raul Paul has been saying buy Ethereum. No. Okay. Like the sooner these shitcoins go away, the better humanity will be. FX rates, let's see how the Russian currency closed. The Russia versus US dollar exchange rate is probably the most important currency in the world. The most important, oh, wow. It's probably the most important currency pair in the world. The Russian ruble is actually strengthening so fast, it's probably creating problems for the Russian economy. Oh, wow. Oh, geez. It's at a 4-year high. Oh, God. Like, it's really hard to think of a bigger epic fail than this swift disaster by kicking Russia out. Now, Russians are also having their issues because they can't access American markets. But yeah, this is stupidity of the way the West is handling the Russia-Ukraine situation has no bounds. The stupidity of the, like, I shouldn't repeat it, but that stupidity has absolutely no bounds. Good for the ruble? Well, not necessarily. There are issues when your currency strengthens against other fiat currencies, especially when it does so very, very quickly. See, guys, you have to remember that the entire reason for G5's existence, G5 started here in 1985. In 1985, the G5 began. It was the US, it was the UK, it was, well, Germany wasn't really much back then. I forget the other countries. Japan, we can Google it, right? The original G5. Original G5. Who are the countries? Wow, apparently there's like G5. 1985. I have to be specific because a bunch of cell phones came up. The Plaza Accord, there you go. Who are the nations? Right. It was France, Germany. Okay, it was Germany. Because I know the wall was still up, so. France, Germany, Japan, UK, and US. And they had one thing to do. They had one mandate to lower the price of the US dollar. Like the US dollar got so strong, that created the G5. And then it turned into a G7 and now a G8. And now we also have a G20 for different purposes. So a strengthening currency is not always a good thing. When it does this, when this was what, 5 years? This is the US dollar in 5 years. 5 years, doubled in value. So let's look at the ruble. Now, I'm not saying that the way to crash the Russian economy is to... What the hell is this? Oh, I'm looking at it in the 80s. I'm like, okay. Now, I'm not saying the way to crash the Russian economy is to make the ruble strong. But let's forget about the war for a second. Let's assume these two candles never happened. And the Russian ruble has strengthened %30 in a few years. It's not 100%, but well, it's not actually 30%. I have to flip this chart, but you get the point. It's about 30%. The Turkish currency is in serious problems. And how's Brazil doing? I'm really interested in Brazil. Since I've gone to Brazil, I'm really interested in Brazil. Well, I expected it to devalue, but it's hanging in there for now. All right, guys. On this note, I'm going to call it a day. Thank you all for watching. Check out the financial summit taking place in only 7 weeks in the Dominican Republic. Talk to you all on the next one. Bye, guys. Oh, the poll came back staying cash with 57%. Let me go and delete it. Going back to screen share. Maybe next time. Bye, guys.